Hey man, welcome to the show.
Yeah.
I think it's all good.
Is it?
Ignore that. I don't know why it does.
Oh, I was like, that doesn't look good. That's a flat
You can see
line.
there. I think
Yeah.
that's something's happening. Okay.
Well, it's pictures there.
Yeah, I'll put my face a little closer because my voice is softer
a
than.
bit further back.
I've been getting
because I've
free
got a
food
big face.
every single day this week from
Whoa,
IDX.
that
Seriously?
is cool.
I think I want to.
That's a sweet deal, yeah, just to get free food. Can we also
We
intern?
went to Mexican Fresh today.
No
That's
way.
so cool. That's
Just
nice.
Just for lunch.
Yeah, just for lunch. Just
Do you
go.
get for everybody or just for
It
you?
was just for me and Josh. And the guys went. And it's
Hey.
like,
They're looking after you guys, hey?
I want to stay.
Yeah, yeah, they want to keep you.
Alright. So,
Are we beginning? Is this it?
Yeah. This is it. Welcome everybody. It's your resident Black Spider-Man. It's Linda. So this is the live intro of the Joneses. How does it feel? Does it feel better?
Oh man, this is great. This is good to be with everybody.
Very
So,
cool.
with two of my closest friends who have been early supporters of the art dealers
It's true.
from day one. I'm so happy that they've made it in their busy schedule. Guys, will you please introduce yourselves?
Claire, do you want to go?
Sure. I am Claire Jones, and what else am I supposed to say about myself?
How old are you? What do you
I'm
do?
30. I just turned 30,
Yeah, you
which
just
is quite
turned 30.
traumatic.
30, yeah.
But it's not so bad, not as bad as I thought it would be. And I'm a mom, so we have a little baby, and she's 5.5
Shout out
months.
to Esther.
Yeah, shout out to Esther.
And I help Brett with a lot of things work-wise, but he can introduce himself in that department.
Yes. Well, I'm Claire's husband, Brett. And yeah, so we are business owners.
Yes.
Which sounds way cooler than it is. But we have two businesses that we run. Tall Creatives, which is a digital content creation company, and Pretty Handsome Films, which is a wedding films company. And yeah, those have been going for 2 years now.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're really enjoying it. It's awesome. It's hard work sometimes and stressful sometimes, a lot of the times, but it's been very, very cool. So that's what we do. And what do you do, Linda?
I'm sure the audience knows about me.
They know about you.
They know about me. I'm here every week for them. You know? I'm here every week for them. But yeah, no, thanks for coming out. Obviously, this is the tea time segment where we actually have genuine advice for people who are listening. If you listen to all the other stuff, wanting advice, you're going to the wrong place. Everything we talk about in the actual podcast is just rubbish. It's just us joking around. So tea time is when we're serious. So there's no joking or profanity. Nothing.
very
Oh,
serious.
sorry, so
Very
you mustn't
serious.
laugh.
No,
Yeah,
no,
we can't laugh at all. This is serious. We don't want that E next to our thing.
Yes.
We've had one already. That was a mistake. But yeah, so just before you get in, and I love that you guys touched on the business thing, because I think it's cool. Guys my age, and I think we've developed a bit of a university following,
Oh, cool.
the art dealers, and so the advice that has kind of come out of these things is from people who have studied before or in working professionally. So I think the advice that comes out of here is like quite beneficial. So I think what's cool is that we get like super relatable guys, and that's why we were so happy that you guys said yes to come through. So just before we kind of dive into what it's like to be business owners, young business owners, parents, and all that kind of stuff, just growing up, interest-wise, what were you guys like into? What was your childhood like? There may be somebody listening who had exact same upbringing and is like wondering like, what am I doing with my life? And they can just kind of hear perspectives from a similar story.
Well, so my folks are pastors, and they kind of have been ever since I was a little kiddie. And so my upbringing was very much churchy, but with a church upbringing comes music. So my brother and I were part of the church band for like ever, and so I learned drums, and I guess with drums and music, the whole music scene comes a very more arty and creative kind of side of things.
Yeah.
So I guess that's how I was introduced into the more creative world. And I remember, I mean, we both did art in school. Claire absolutely owned at art in school. I didn't own, but I did art. But I think it, like, from there, I think that upbringing of music and just like being involved in arts in school, and I guess being a part of a band when I got into my teen years, kind of exposes you to a different form of creativity that probably you aren't used to when you're growing up.
Sure.
And from high school, I just started doing, I guess, band posters for gigs that we had coming up. So that's how I started.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Nice, yeah.
Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Well, there you have
I
it.
didn't know that.
There's a little fun fact. So I did all the gig posters for us, and yeah, that's kind of how I got into it. But I didn't study anything, so that was a bit of a. It's kind of been an interesting journey to where we are now. Like how we got here has been quite interesting, and probably not the most recommended.
Studying is good.
Studying is good. Don't you know what I'm not saying, people? Studying is good. All you people are gonna be like, Mom, I heard of the tea time advice. I don't have to study. Don't hear that. Studying is great, but yeah. So we kind of, I guess, stumbled into what we're doing now. But yeah, that was my upbringing and my like formative years.
And for me, I mean, I'm also similar to Brett in the sense that I also grew up in a Christian home, incredible parents, and I have an older sister, and did lots of sport in school. And I suppose I almost always questioned my creativity in school because my family's not super creative or anything, so there was no like encouragement in that space. But I took up art, much to my parents. They thought this was a big mistake, but I did it anyway, and ended up doing a lot better than my family had thought. But I think I, as an individual, always would question like my space and my role and what would I do as to study or whatever. And because I have an older sister, she would go into the applying for universities, and it would get me to think, what am I going to do? And I suppose it would always lead me into questioning who I am and what I like to do and stuff. And that's where I think, I mean, I did study something creative, which was industrial design, but I never actually finished it. And I think the jobs that we are in now, which is like film production, is amazing because it kind of covers a few different spaces of creativity.
Yeah.
And for me, there's also like, I can do the creative, but I can also do the admin side of things. And I think for me, it's the perfect balance of things. So I also didn't study what we're doing, and somehow, thanks to God, we're able to do what we're doing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And it's always, I mean, it's an interesting thing because I think in my head growing up, I always thought that like creative people, or to be a creative person, looked like something.
Yeah.
And that like, so I look at you, I'm like, okay, cool, that guy must be a creative person because he like is dressed a certain way. But I guess as I've grown older, it's like creativity comes in like a whole different bunch of packages.
Yeah.
You can look at someone dressed like a business guy, and yet they can be, I don't know, the most creative. They got like a brilliant mind or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's, I think, like for us nowadays, I think it's helpful to also not define yourself by what you, in a sense, see the stereotype as being creative. Because, I mean, now as parents with a little kid, and I mean, we, in a sense, if you had to look at us, we probably wouldn't, I wouldn't describe us as like the most creative people like you've ever seen in your whole entire life. You know what I mean? Like, but yet, I think to break out of that stereotype and be like, cool, it doesn't matter like what your situation is. If you got that desire, like Claire was saying, like with her upbringing, she wanted to do art.
Yeah.
And if you got that desire to in a sense be creative, it doesn't matter in a sense what your circumstances are like. Hey?
Yeah,
Am I saying good stuff here, or are you like?
Yeah, very good. Very good. Yeah.
I think for us, we also, I mean, we've been, Brett and I have been in this conversation for a while of just being true to yourself.
Yeah.
And when you're true to yourself, that's when the most creative kind of comes out, because you're not trying to copy somebody else.
Yeah.
You're doing what you do, and what you do, the world needs. You know? And so I think so often we see somebody who has the appearance and the image of looking creative, and we're like, I need to look like them.
Yeah.
But they're doing their own thing. Let them them do their thing, you do your thing, and you'll be creative, and other people want to copy you because you are doing what's truly creative and it's unique, and people want that. So I think, you know, we're so busy trying to copy other people, but actually just be you, and you'll actually bring out the best kind of creativity that's there, you know.
For sure.
And when you said creativity doesn't necessarily look a certain way, because I'm probably the same way. I even like now working at IDX, I mean, it's a very, not like the most corporate environment, but then you go there and it's got a corporate feel, like, or at least compared to here at the office. And you go in, and then one of the guys there, Sean, he like just looks like a normal business guy. And then we just end up talking, and then he shows me like stuff that he's done, and I'm like, this is actually really good. This is
very cool.
Really good. I shouldn't have like stereotyped.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you judge.
He just, I mean, because obviously, like in the environment that I work in, like we don't have to dress up or anything. Like, we come super casual, and like there, it's a very semi-formal, like collar tie thing, and that my instant thinking is, oh man, this is just gonna be very square type of environment, and then you go in and it's like. There's a lot of stuff happening, and it's really, really cool. But what's cool now, at least what I've noticed, at least what I've taken, because I haven't studied yet either, I'm still quite young, but I've worked a number of years now to the point where I'm enjoying working and I don't really want to study anymore. Much to my parents' slight disappointment. But I think they appreciate that I've kind of taken initiative in getting a job and all that kind of stuff, so they're cool with everything. But just with, for someone from like my perspective who's in a creative field, it's become a lot, I don't say easier, but the fact that there's been like platforms like YouTube and just really just practicing your craft and everything just to get to where you are right now. Like I haven't studied a lick of graphic design, but I'm a fairly decent graphic designer, and that was just because I practiced, and I was terrible in it. I didn't know what I was doing at all. I just like keep practicing and all that kind of stuff. But just for people who are studying or like are in two minds about studying, maybe are like thinking about taking a gap year or whatever, I always kind of think about the pros and cons of studying, because obviously the pros are they're very substantial, and please don't get what I'm not saying studying is cool. But with me, like I haven't studied anything, and my life is okay so far. Like it's been alright, if I'm being dead honest. But when I did study, I really enjoyed studying. Like I really enjoyed the university environment, and I made a lot of good friends. And it's not anything like high school. So if you probably like about to finish matric or a gap year now thinking that it's like high school, that's really not. It's probably a bit busier, but it's not as kind of restricted. But from your perspective, what do you guys think are like, I suppose, the pros and cons of tertiary education?
I think for me, obviously, because now I've had the I guess looking back, I've kind of seen what I've missed out, and I think what I've realized is you eventually you'll get to the same point, but you're just taking a very windy route. So I will have done, whether it's designs or videos, I will have done videos a certain way for a couple of years, and then I'll realize, oh my goodness, this is actually how you are taught in university how to do it, and it saves you a whole bunch of time, which is incredible. But I mean, I've eventually arrived at that point, but I think my point of learning would be from a point of, I guess, failure, which is not a bad thing, I guess. But so I think the cool thing about a pro for not going to varsity or whatever, I think is there's a, or at least I know for me, there's a desire to always have that learning, and that desire to learn, and I mean, Claire and I chat about it often. Like we never ever want to lose that desire to keep on growing, keep on learning, because I mean the reality is, and this is, okay, so I'm talking badly against studying, but the reality about studying is that in 10 years time, even 5 years maybe, 5 years time, the stuff that you've studied, it could be irrelevant. It could totally be irrelevant. I mean, the guys that studied like design in 2000, I mean, what, like some of the stuff that they were studying
super outdated
is just so outdated. So like you, I think like today's technology and just the information that we have at hand, like, it is incredibly helpful, and you can get to the same point as someone who studied. And like I said, you might fail and trip on your way there, and like go through a few embarrassing moments where you're just like, oh whoops, I should have known that, and if I'd studied I would have known that. But at the end of the day, it's like, it's fine, you get to that point. So I think for me, that's kind of what I've realized, is that if I have that heart of and desire to like keep learning, like keep growing, never be satisfied with I guess what we know and the techniques that we know, and never get comfortable in like, okay, cool, this is how I film, or this is how I edit, or this is how I design, or this is how I interpret a room to, I don't know, decorate, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's never get comfortable in the space of like, this is what I do, this is who I like, this is my style, because the world will kind of leave you behind, I guess.
Yeah.
What's a good thing about studying?
Well, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna go.
No, you can go. Did you have something?
No, I was just gonna say, I think the tough thing is with anything in the creative field, it's like you have, if you want to become a doctor, you have to study. You can't just kind of self-teach yourself, you know, and be like, okay, cool, let's, who you gonna cut open
Scalpel.
the first time, you know, yeah. But with the creative, there's so many ways outside of varsity to learn that. But in the positive and the pro for varsity is that you're learning the skills that are current for that time, and you're building networking with people that are in that industry already, and you have a level of respect from people when it comes to employment. You put your CV out there. If you have no work experience, you can start off by saying, cool, I've been studying for 4 years. They know they know that you can do the job. So without anything experience or whatever. So I think that helps. There's a level of respect that's given when you are new, and it's hard to find a job when you're young and fresh out of varsity. So I think only then, once you've got that level of respect and you've done a few jobs, if you haven't studied, then people are like, okay, cool, I'm willing to risk with you. But beforehand, they're not super willing to risk with you, because they're kind of they don't trust
you. There's a level
you.
of uncertainty.
And I think for an older generation, they get frustrated with people who don't study and just go straight into stuff, because they're like, I studied for so long and I had to work hard and do all these things, and now you come along, especially with like, I know some photographers, and it's like the Instagram generation, they are posting stuff and they've never studied anything, and they have hundreds of thousands of followers, and it's like, I'm doing this as a professional, I'm like 50 years old and I've studied this and I've won awards, I've 100 followers on Instagram, and it's just completely opposite, and it's frustrating.
It's weird,
it's frustrating for an older generation, but then it goes back to what Brett was saying, just about you've got to stay relevant, you've got to keep up, you've got to make sure you following the trends, make sure you're seeing what other designers are doing, networking with people, just kind of seeing what's out there and being inspired as well, I think is a pro.
I think a nice thing that you mentioned was the networking thing with varsity. I think there's something so cool about bouncing, or just being in an environment where there's different ideas that are flowing. Because I think a con to being self-taught is that you can sometimes get stuck in your way, maybe. Where it's like, oh well, this is how I've done it, because you can alienate yourself from different ways of thinking. Where I think at like school, it would, varsity, sorry, you would be able to hear different perspectives, whether it's your lecturer or it's actually just different, like your classmates or whatever. You're hearing a different way every time. So, and I think that's also cool, is like learning that my way isn't always the best way, and how do I take what Linda's saying, how do I take what Claire's saying, and actually like let's add it together and actually do something really cool. So I think that's besides the obvious fact of you get a cool title behind behind you. I think that brings like you were saying, it brings a level of just credibility, but also a level of just like stability. If you want to like ever, I guess, go work overseas or do something like that, I guess there's a bit of credibility behind that. But yeah, I'd say networking is a massive one.
And I think also another pro is that you learn the lingo quickly when you're in varsity. So you learn a professionalism where you can talk about things, and you can speak to somebody in that industry that's been in the industry for a long time, and you both know what the other person's saying. I think when you start without studying and you speak to somebody who's been in the industry, they start using terms and words that you know how to do those things, but you don't know what they're called. So you kind of fumbling your way, and they say, oh, can you create this thing? And you're like, sure I can, and you quickly run home and you're like, what does this mean, you know? And so I think it does help you kind of just give you a professional edge when you kind of want to make yourself look good in front of other people. At least they can see, okay, cool, this person knows what they're talking about, versus somebody else who's maybe not got the right lingo going.
I had to learn that like very quickly. I do like work for my dad, and whenever like I'll make like a logo or whatever, so I've kind of dipped into the industry like quite nicely. And then somebody who thinks that they understand like the lingo or whatever,
Yeah.
but because to me, like I've obviously never heard it
Yes.
in like a non-professional environment.
Yes.
They'll say something, I'm like, what does this even mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
it is.
Like, and then I'll do it, and then it's like you could have just said it in a different way,
Yeah.
because I didn't know like the
Yeah.
jargon or
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, now you guys are business owners, as you
Yes.
said.
Yes.
You guys used to work here. Glory
We
days.
did.
Yo,
We
it's
did.
glory
Hey,
days. Yo, those
that's
are
where we
The
met, my
18.
friends.
Those are the days.
Those are the
days.
days.
When I was in high school, these guys.
No, don't.
We have this thing called Fresh Friday here at King's College, Bryanston, where the guys on staff kind of run an assembly on a Friday morning type of, and it's very cool, and that's where we became friends.
Yes, it's true.
Back in my youth days, back in
Yeah.
my young days, and I always thought you guys were just awesome.
Oh, that's fun.
And I won't lie, I
Just
I
ridiculous.
really wish that I was a bit older to be like you, Lance, and like Pete V, and everyone was here. That would have been like the time. Garrett, everything. That would have been something. Shout out to Jason. I was talking to him today.
Oh, yeah.
Actually. But now you guys are both business owners. Business owners. You guys aren't here anymore. You guys have, how long has it been?
2 years.
2 years now.
Yeah. Well, September will be 2 years. Eh?
Yeah, July was 2 for me, September 2 for me.
So first of all,
Yes.
what's the general conversations around starting a business? Like how does that start? Like how do you kind of decide like I think we need to go into our own little space now, and then what was the process of
Be
conversation?
naive. Be naive.
Yeah. I honestly like, and this, I know it might sound stupid, but I feel like our naivety, is that the word?
Yeah.
Our naivety really helped us.
Good.
But I wouldn't recommend it at all. But because I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but I feel like we really did stumble into being business owners. But at the same time, for us as believers, like God, we truly believe that God led us into this in terms of the fact that we felt that our time at the church office was up, and it was a brilliant, for me, 5 years, and for you like 4.5 years or whatever, and it taught us so much, and from that place, like just actually being in obedience to God, and it's like God saying, hey, cool, it feels like your time's up here, and us going, okay, cool, we don't really know exactly what we're going to do, but that step of faith kind of led us into literally one job, and that one job that I did would lead to a second job, and that second job would lead to a third job. So in the beginning, I mean, because I was pretty much freelancing, right? It wasn't.
So
we didn't really have like a hey.
No,
it
Brett
wasn't
started
like a
more
company.
as a freelancer,
Yeah.
and I was working at a recording studio and helping there. I know with the contract, and so it kind of was just like we had some stability because I had a bit more of a fixed income, and Brett was just freelancing and getting work in. But then it came to the point where it was actually like maybe we should start a business out of this thing, and we can support ourselves. Which I think was secretly underlying the intention, but we didn't really realize it. We were just fumbling our way through all of this. And so then we decided, cool, we'll start the company, but then we thought we must keep the company separate because one's wedding, one's corporate, we don't want to mix them up and everything. So we kept them separate, which, I mean, I think it's worked well for us. And that's kind of how it evolved in its starting.
But I think it's just being involved in the community where you've built friendships, and I guess people have seen you work on your skill in a sense. They've seen what you've done, they've seen your work, they've seen how you've matured in a sense. It was super helpful just because we would they would trust. So people in like our church community and stuff would say, hey, do you mind helping us with this?
Sure.
And then that would be one thing that would go into another thing, and then someone else that is outside of that community that sees that person's work would go, oh cool, could you do that for me? So and that happened with weddings as well. Our first wedding was Frank and Rosie, you know.
Frank and Rosie,
Shout out Frank and Rosie.
Shout out Frank and Rosie.
I don't even know if you but that was our first wedding that we did as Pretty Handsome Film, and from there it kind of just like you get one, and then people are like, oh, that's quite cool, I guess.
And weddings are great because at the wedding you have an audience of 200 people, you know, for
Yeah.
each wedding, and
Yeah.
there's going to be somebody, at least one person in that group of people getting married.
Sure.
And so if you
Yeah.
do a good job for that wedding, those people are going to use you, and it just keeps going, you know. So
Yeah.
that the weddings is easy in a
Yeah.
way because it just runs itself.
Yeah.
People, they love using people that they can
Yeah.
have recommendation from.
And I guess something that like Claire and I also often chat about is that there's we feel it's a beautiful mix where we do these, as store creatives, we do these music videos and we do these corporate videos and other like short film stuff, and that's really cool because you get to, I guess, dream up concepts and come up with ideas and stuff.
Yeah.
But there's also a very posed element, or not posed, what's the right word?
I don't know what you're trying to say.
I'm trying to say that like it's quite structured in its
Oh,
feeling of
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Like it's planned and it's very like, okay, cool, shot.
There's not much room to be super creative in the sense.
No, well, I'm just saying that in a sense you are sticking to a shot plan.
Okay, yes.
So you're sticking to that shot plan and like
Very
okay,
corporate approach.
very cool. And you're saying, okay, cool. Can we do this? Can we reshoot
Yeah.
that? Can you act this way? Okay, smile a bit more. Like, okay, no. Let's act cooler.
It's controlled.
It's controlled.
Yeah.
It's a very controlled environment. That's the right word. But a wedding is crazy.
Super
It's
unpredictable,
it's
yeah.
so
Yeah,
unpredictable.
you can't say, can you do that first
Yeah.
kiss
Yeah.
again,
Yeah,
please?
I remember the first time we shot a wedding together, I was stressing. Like,
Yeah, I can imagine.
it's
Yeah.
crazy because as the bride's walking down, you're just like, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
am I in focus?
And
Like,
it always happens as you're filming, someone just sits
Someone
right in
sits-
front of you,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you're like, no!
it's
And
madness.
it's always just.
So I mean, that's something that we've really enjoyed is that like you go from these more controlled environments where you can, in a sense, have a bit more creativity in terms of what you're shooting and how you're shooting it, which is great. We love that. And then there's this other environment which is completely authentic. It's unplanned, genuine emotion. You're looking at this wife walking down the aisle and the husband bawling his eyes out,
Yeah.
and like the person in the background has also got their tissues out, like cry. and there's this beautiful emotion. Like whenever I'm editing wedding films, like 90% of the time I'm just smiling
Yeah.
because it's such a happy
Yeah.
Yeah.
environment. So we really, I mean, we've really found a sweet spot in terms of just the balance between the two companies, and they've really worked out well.
But I think in starting out, one thing that we made a bit of maybe a mistake with is like, how do you charge people? And we kind of, it's so tough because you don't want to come across as ripping people off because you're brand new and you know, how much do you charge for something? But at the same time, you've got to value yourself, and your time is your time, and your price is your price, you know. And so if you charge R5 for something and someone doesn't want to pay that, that's their own choice.
Yeah.
You mustn't adjust things because you feel bad because now you're charging too much according to somebody else. You charge your price, and eventually people will start to use you, and they will, once you make a name for yourself, they'll be like, why are you charging so little now, you know? So it kind of flips into the other way. But you've got to always value your time and make sure then you're delivering on that value, you know. So show people that you're worth,
Tweetable, right?
show people you're worth that amount, you know, because then if they're happy with you, they'll recommend you to your friends, and that's where you know your success is. I think for us, we get so amped when we hear somebody phone us and say, oh, I want you to do this thing for me, I got your contact details from this previous client, and we're just like,
Man,
yay,
it's
it means they really it's like they really liked us. So I think that's always the proof is in the pudding, you know, with that kind of thing. So and that's always super encouraging when you start your own business and you get like repeat work, you know, okay, they liked us.
That's awesome. And just a kind of, I guess, naive question, but was it scary? That kind of leap of faith, or that kind of first step into like, we've decided we want to make a business.
I think it was scary. So for me, I am the more like, I need the plan and I need it written out and I need the list and we must tick everything off.
I need to know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Show me the plan and I'm happy to run with it, you know. Whereas Brett's just like, cool, okay, let's do it. But I think one thing that Brett said to me before we even left our jobs at the church office, and he just said, you can't have one foot in the boat and one foot out the boat. You either have to be all in or all out, you know. And I think that for me was like, okay, we got to jump out the boat, and you don't really know what you're doing. But how does anyone really know when they start their own business? And I think you've just got to try, you know, and that thing of failure, you're going to learn through your failures. So you jump out the boat, you fail a couple of times, and you can be like, okay, now I know what I'm doing, you know. And yes, it's super stressful because we are married, so it means our salaries are coming from this company that's just started, and we have no fixed income.
That's crazy.
And it was like, what are we doing, you know? But God was just and is still so good. We just, work comes and keeps coming, and we hardly advertise. We don't. It's word of mouth. It's you know, we need work to come in, and it just arrives, you know. So it was super scary for me in the beginning, and as much as I knew that this is something we should do, I still had my questions and I still had my doubts. But without a shadow of a doubt, now I know we're in the right space, and I know that we're doing what we should be doing. But you have to take that little jump, that scary first step. Once you take the first step, I feel like you're like, well, now I've committed, so I have to do it. But that first little step is the hardest. But you have to decide: is my one foot in and the other foot out, or am I all in or all out?
Sure.
And you got to do that.
Is the title of the podcast. Thank you.
Yes.
I was going to clickbait like the worst thing.
That's so good.
Brilliant.
And just before we end, you guys are parents now.
Man.
My word.
Can you believe it, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Long-haired Brett Jones. That's my distinct memory and everything.
that hair.
Long-haired Brett Jones has a little baby.
I do want to say this just before we get like all emotional and stuff. In 2015, we had a camp here, looking up camp, and you ran an elective on creativity and all that kind of stuff.
In the coffee shop.
You did, and that my friend was the very reason
No
why
way.
I started designing.
You kidding?
I'm being very serious.
That's amazing.
The very reason
I did not know
started,
that.
Yeah, you did. It was.
That's super
I
cool.
do remember that now,
Yeah.
actually.
I think there was probably like 2. I think you did like 2 or 3 or something.
Wow, man.
So there was. I think it was like an hour. Or
What
something.
did I even say? Was it good?
It was really good.
It must have been good if he
it
decided
was.
to
So you
base
gave
his
like.
life off.
I don't remember like super details, but I remember like you gave a whole bunch of like cool sites to check out to like practice your craft. If you're ever like in a creative rut, like how do you and like writing ideas down, that kind of stuff. So that's since then, 2015. That was the start.
Wow.
That was a good start. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Nice.
Hey, pleasure.
So
And that goes back to being you, being original, and just being you.
just
'cause
being yourself.
That's, how you
And look at you guys now, doing amazing things. Hey?
Being
As the
yourselves.
Being
dealers,
ourselves,
dealers just taking over the world share.
And
Super.
the only reason why I'm pretty much at church is because of these two.
That's way too much.
It's because of these two. Do you remember you guys like randomly called me and it's like, you want to be in live BNN? I was like, I don't even know that. It's okay.
But I'll do it.
That was a cool BNN.
That was
It was
cool.
the day after my matric dance.
Oh yeah, and
I
we
came
were
home
super
at
proud of you
I
for
came home at
coming.
like 2 a.m. and then had to be at
Still
church
committed
at
to
6 or
church.
so.
Well
What a
done.
guy.
That was the start. That was the
Well
start.
done.
So 4 years now, 6th of September, my 4-year church anniversary. Thanks to you guys. So big up.
The best.
So parenthood, eh?
Yes, parenthood.
The most adorable child.
She is great. She's fantastic.
What's that like? What's that
Yeah,
like, you know?
parenting. Yeah, it's this crazy world of this insane amount of love mixed with this insane amount of tiredness. mixed with what?
I think our lives are just so super full because we have this beautiful little girl that obviously takes up a large majority of our lives, and then we have our businesses, and all of this happens at home, you know. So we work at home, we obviously have our baby at home, and so things can get a bit chaotic, but we always say like it's quite funny how we will be so busy and so crazy and so tired, and then you'll just see her little smile and you're like,
so
okay,
worth it,
I forgot
honestly,
all the
you, like,
stress
forget
that I
everything.
feel.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so it's
When she started, I don't even know if anyone actually cares about this, but I'm gonna tell you, she started laughing like
cool.
about like a month ago or something.
a bit longer.
Maybe a bit longer. But she's
But now
like,
she
she giggles, and it is the cutest thing ever. Like she'll just.
So if you're
Honestly,
having a bad day,
Yeah,
that
having a
just
bad
like
day,
makes it all better.
it's the greatest thing. So if you're planning to have babies, just
Just what?
make sure you are prepared to, I guess.
It's a beautiful thing,
It's
but
the most
it
beautiful thing,
is
but also
hectic,
hectic.
but we wouldn't want to change.
Oh,
anything
no, not at all.
or anything. We love you so much,
Yeah.
So it's,
No, you guys are awesome. It's a great family. Amazing job. So now before we end, we started this thing called the questions, kind of to end off with some random questions to lighten the mood.
how exciting!
With everyone.
I feel nervous.
Yeah.
So just be honest.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
so
Is it
what
like a speed thing, or
Nah,
do we
you
just
can think
answer?
about
Is it a
okay.
competition? Are we coming up against each other?
I mean, I don't know.
Do we have like a buzzer where you can just
Who's
press
first?
and then
Yes.
whoever wins? Yeah.
What is your all-time guilty pleasure TV show? So that one show that you may be a bit ashamed to say it out loud, but then you absolutely love
Is
it.
it? So is it? No wait. Yeah, totally.
It's fully House Hunters International.
Oh, we're such nerds.
Oh, man. I don't know how we even got
We
into
love
that.
travel, and
yeah, that's-
and I quite enjoy like homes and things, and it's
great
like
show.
it's such a stupid program, and
But
it's
it's
really
so great, all the
scripted and
episodes.
everything, but we love it,
Yeah, we
and
absolutely
we
love
hardly
it.
actually watch it anymore. We used to watch it a lot. I think it's special because we used to also watch it when we were dating, and so now it's just like part of
Yeah.
our lives. Yeah.
But if you don't know what House Hunters International is, they basically someone's relocating to another place in wherever.
What,
Only
another
a
country?
couple.
or
Another
whatever.
country,
Yeah.
and they go to this. Let's say they're going to Berlin, and they go to Berlin, and they have 3 homes, and the estate agent takes them around, and then they got to choose out of the 3 homes. That's basically it.
Yeah.
But sometimes
But
they
it's
make
so
such
great.
stupid decisions.
They make stupid decisions.
Yeah.
But
Anyway,
anyway,
that's how embarrassing.
So choose
the
a house
show.
out of their budget or something.
Yeah, literally.
So what is the song that you have on repeat right now?
probably.
Carry on.
Let me actually check.
So.
What do you?
I suppose I don't know if it's a song more than an album, but do you have like
Oh.
Tom Niche or
Yeah,
Mish?
Tom
I
Niche.
always forget how to say it.
Tom Misch is probably on. Can we say it generally?
Yeah,
So not
sure.
like
Yeah,
generally this year, 2018. Tom Misch, his geography album has been
Yes.
like on repeat
Yes.
so much, and
Then
yeah.
maybe this is embarrassing for you, but the
What?
Friends first one is just epic.
The
because it's
Friends
like,
first one is so good.
It's like this African cool.
Yeah, it's so great.
Like
Is that the thing
old
from your
school.
story?
Yeah, did you-
Yeah,
oh, yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
But it's literally, I think it's from the like 93 or something. But it brought back a whole bunch of memories just because like growing up in church days, those are some of the songs that my folks used to play.
Oh, sick.
Yeah,
And
crazy.
they're like victory songs,
Yeah,
like
they're
to
epic.
like going against apartheid and
Yeah.
all
Oh,
of that,
that's
and
cool,
so
yeah.
it's pretty cool and it's
Yeah.
so old school.
It's so old school, and yet
yeah.
like powerful, like
Yeah,
almost
yeah.
almost emotionally.
Yeah.
Favorite actor of all time?
Hey.
Ooh, can I say actress?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. I love Meryl Streep. I
That's a
love
good
her.
one.
She's
It's a great
like
one, yeah.
my
Yeah.
best. I think she's amazing, and I don't know any movie with her, and I'm like, yes, you
That's
can watch
it's
it.
a good
Yeah.
choice. Yeah.
Can I say 2?
Yeah.
Okay, so Denzel is like any Denzel movie. I'm just like, okay, cool. Except for Fences. Fences was a bit weird. I thought it was like, I mean, it wasn't bad.
The
movie.
acting was good,
The
but
acting
it just
was good.
wasn't like.
I didn't think the movie was like incredible, but
Yeah.
Fence. I mean, it was fun. But anyway, Denzel, and then just because of The Office, Steve Carell
Oh,
is
yeah.
just like
Gold.
The legend.
he
Yeah.
is gold, and
Legend,
like
yeah.
Steve Carell is all time. So
The Office basically sums up our
any
lives, yeah.
any person, yeah.
Any
The
person
Office.
from The Office.
Yeah.
If our one wish would be to spend like a day in The
Oh
Office,
my goodness.
if we
yeah.
could time travel back to like 2000 somewhere. Yeah.
Super cool.
And your favorite movie of all time?
I don't know.
Flip a
Oh,
favorite
I
wish.
know. You have a trilogy of favorite movies.
Yeah, but I feel like that's my teenage tribute.
Teenage Brett coming
Teenage
up.
Brett. Okay, well, honestly, Teenage Brett was like a massive Bourne Identity and
Oh,
Bourne
yeah,
Supremacy
I remember you
and
did say
Bourne
this.
Elton. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a massive Jason Bourne fan. I guess that's okay. But now that like yeah.
What's Dad Brett saying?
I
now?
that's a big favorite movie. Secret Life of Walter Mitty was quite
Oh,
cool.
yeah, I
Inception,
Oh, Inception.
Interstellar,
Yeah.
Yeah.
all Christopher
No,
Nolan
no.
movies, any Christopher Nolan. movie.
Recently, well, not recently, maybe like a year ago now, we watched Lion.
Oh.
And that movie
yeah,
is
yeah.
Lion is
epic.
incredible.
Yeah,
Yo.
watched it on the
Sorry.
airplane,
Flipping
bawled my eyes
Guys,
out.
we were literally coming back from Europe, watching this movie on the plane, just bawling, like
A great movie.
shoulder crying.
Yeah, I was
and
sobbing.
baby crying.
Yeah,
it
air
was bad.
hostesses were concerned about
Yeah,
me.
it was bad, but such a good movie.
Yeah.
Lion is incredible.
Beautiful, yeah.
And then finally, what is one word you'd use to describe yourselves?
Oh
Oh no, Linda.
Great way to end.
This is what they ask in an interview.
It'd be a great way to end.
To describe yourself.
Be really introspective, really think, eh?
You go first.
Is it? Because I feel like, could it be what I want myself to be?
I mean, yeah. I mean, is that how you would describe yourself?
No, I don't know. You know, you have these visions of yourself that like you really would like to be this person, but you don't actually know if you really are. I don't know if you ever have those.
Yeah.
But I feel like I would genuinely want to be authentic to myself, and I know that could sound like, I guess, pretentious and very I don't know, but I would love to be authentic, like. But you see, that's who I would like to be.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I really am that at the moment, which sounds bad on live podcast to say that, but you know, it's like I guess we all are in some way unauthentic. Sheesh, I feel like I'm getting really deep all of a sudden. This is not meant to get.
It's the chops of a good interview. I really think and everything.
I don't know. There you go.
Yeah, now I feel like my answer is going to be deep as well.
Good,
no.
yes.
This is as
The views.
No, I was going to say kind because...
You are kind. You are so kind.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
No, I think I sometimes forget to be kind, but I always know, even...
It's not true.
when I was little, I was told I was kind, and even Brett's mom says I have very kind eyes, and I suppose I genuinely like to be kind to other people. So yeah, I think that could sum me up in a way.
Yeah, totally. Claire's very kind.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Thank you,
Oh,
Linda.
no problem.
No,
Awesome to hang out.
this is a great episode.
I hope so.
Yeah, man. Thanks for your time, guys.
We
I
are also
appreciate
competitive,
it.
so better be the best episode.
Most views.
This episode was brought to you by Talk Creators and Pretty Handsome.
Hey, plug yourself. It's so good.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, guys. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
This was really, really awesome.
Thanks
Thank
for
you for
inviting us.
always being supportive from the beginning. I really appreciate it.
Always.
That little encouragement was all I needed to kind of kickstart this thing and keep it going. So thank you very
Well
much.
done.
Good job.
Thank you for 2015 and someone's booking in.
What a great way to end.
At least we're ending. Well, anyway,
Okay.
peace out, everyone. This is
Bye.
Black Spider-Man. Peace out.